Hey bestie. Hey, what's up? Hey bestie, it's oh my god. Hey y'all, it's Maggie back with math. So starting off, let's just talk about what are the steps to take a derivative. There's only 2 steps. The first one is to take this number, this exponent, and multiply it by this number here. So bring this out to the front. So it's like 4 times 3. First, you're going to write down 12. That's the first step. The second step is to subtract 1 from this exponent. So you leave the x alone, subtract 1. 4 minus 1 is 3. So the derivative of f of x here is going to be 12x to the third. Let's try another one. Okay, we take this exponent and we bring it out, multiply it by the front. So that gives us a 4. 2 times 2 is 4. Then we're going to subtract 1 from this exponent here. That makes it a 1. So x to the first is just x. So the derivative of this is going to be 4x. But what does this even mean? So another word for derivative is slope. If you haven't learned what slope is yet, it's basically when you look at one point on the graph. So like let's say we wanted to look at the slope of -1 here. So at this point here, what's the slope? You zoom in really, really close and kind of like cut it into a little piece and see this line. You just extend that line all the way down. So the slope at -1 would be looking like this line. And the other thing that you need to know about slopes is that this is a negative slope, this is a positive slope, and a thing that has 0 slope is just going to be a horizontal line. And that happens at like the bottom of a parabola like this, but worry about that later, not right now. So what is a derivative?
Skip it about that.
If you want to find the slope at any point on this line of this graph right here, you can use the derivative function. So you can use this function, meaning what? If I wanted to find the exact slope at -1, I would plug in -1 to the derivative function, and that slope would give me 4 times -1, which is -4. So I would know that the slope at -1 is equal to -4. This line right here has a slope of -4. This is kind of a tricky concept, so don't worry if you're not totally grasping it right now. All you need to know is that whatever the derivative is used to measure the slope at a certain point.
Okay.
So another word for derivative is also like the tangent line. You could also see it referred to as rate of change, and then of course slope. So these all mean the same thing, and you're going to see them on your homeworks, just worded in different ways. So if you see any of these words, it almost always means you're going to want to take the derivative of the function that they give you. Another important thing to note is the notation of derivative. So all of these mean the exact same thing. They just mean the derivative of the function. Let's try another example. So you notice that there's 2 different things being added together. You just take the derivatives separately and then add them together. We take this 3 out in front, so it's going to be 3 times 10, which is 30. And then we're going to subtract 1 from this exponent, leaving x to the second power. Then we're going to add the derivative of this term here. So we're going to add 2 times 3 is 6, x minus 1, that's just 6x. So this is the derivative of this function. All right, same thing as before. This 4 comes out in front and multiplies the 2. 4 times 2 is 8. We subtract 1 from 4, leaving us with x to the third. Plus, we bring this 2 out to the front. 2 times 4 is 8. Minus 1, that leaves us with just x to the first power, just x. Now this 8 here, when you take the derivative of something that doesn't have x in it, it's going to be 0. So meaning if you take the derivative of like a huge number, if it's a number, the derivative of it is going to be 0. And sometimes your teachers will try to trick you by saying like, what's the derivative of pi or like e?
Bruh.
Pi or e don't have like an x in it. They're just numbers. So the derivative of any number is going to be 0. Just memorize that. Here's where things can get a little bit scary looking, but it's not that bad. 1 over x squared is the same thing as x to the -2. If you have a negative and an exponent, all it means is that it's in the denominator. You can move it to the denominator and just get rid of this exponent here. So we're just going to do it like normal. We are going to take this, multiply it out in front. So -2 times, there's an imaginary 1 here. It's just going to be -2. And then we're going to subtract 1 from here, leaving us with x to the -3rd. So some teachers are going to be fine with you writing your answers like this. Others are going to want to move this x to the denominator. So again, there's a negative. We can take the negative away by moving this x to the denominator, giving us -2 over x third. Okay, so there's some functions that you just have to memorize. Just memorize these. That's pretty much it. The derivative of e to the x is e to the x. That is not a mistake. The derivative of e to the x is e to the x itself, which is kind of interesting. This is a longer thing to memorize. Some teachers aren't going to make you know all of these, but a lot are annoying and are. For now, if you're just getting introduced into trig, the only things that you probably need to memorize for now for your quiz is going to be these top two right here. On the left here, these are all the functions, and on the right is the corresponding derivative of that function. The derivative of sines and cosines are so similar that it's easy to mix up, especially if you're under pressure on a quiz or something. So on a test, I would always just write this in the corner and have it as a little cheat sheet. So let's solve this derivative. Bring the 6 out in front. 6 subtract 1, that's x to the 5th. So it's going to be minus negative sine of x. And once you simplify that, that turns positive. Like always, if you need help, I'm available for tutoring at math-savvy.com. Have a good one. Bye.